Hey folks, in this interview, we're talking about Smart Albums. That's a product from a company called Pixellu. Daniel Usenko is the guy behind all this magic, and they just released a really interesting update. And Daniel is agreed to come on and sort of run us through what some of the cool features are in this new version of the software. This is TWIP. Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of This Week in Photo. I'm your host, Frederick Van Johnson. Daniel Usenko is on the hot seat today, and he agreed to come on to quickly show us some of the new features in their product, Smart Albums. If you're a wedding photographer or anybody who makes albums, this software is, and I'll let him say it, but this software is designed to make your life a little bit easier. Daniel, welcome to the show, man. How's it going?
Hey, nice to see you. Pretty good. How are you?
Yes. I'm doing good. I'm doing well. I'm excited. I saw your email a couple weeks ago come through about the impending release of the new features. So I wanted to have you come on. And you were when you mentioned it and we sort of dialogued, I thought the best way to share what the new features are would be to have you come on for a couple minutes and just show us, for exactly what the new features are. So before we do that, for the people who may not know about Pixellu or the Smart Albums product, just give us the quick overview of what the software is and who it was designed for.
Yeah, our software is all about saving time, and for professional photographers, an album design process is a very, very time-consuming process, and we found a way to make it not days of work, but minutes of work. And we released our first version of Smart Albums in 2013. So it's been 7 years. We've included a lot of updates, and this latest one is all about making it faster, the whole process with the design.
That's great. Congratulations, man. That's a while. That's like 100 years in software.
That's true. That's true. It's like when you see news recordings from 10 years ago, they look like that was 50 years ago. The quality of
even just last year, video. Right?
Right.
Last year.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, let's dive right in. I want to see what the new features are. So I'll go ahead and bring your screen up here. Okay. So I'm sharing your screen now. So this is it, right? Walk us through what the new changes are.
So for those of photographers that don't know the album process, before you can print a book, you need to lay the photos out. And traditionally in Photoshop, you take hours or days usually to line them up, to decide which photos go where and all that kind of stuff. And the original idea behind Smart Albums is that you can choose the images that you want to include on the page, let's say these detail images, and you simply drag them onto the blank canvas, and voila, you got yourself a design, and you can click next to see what other designs are available. Now, the latest update is for people who don't even want to do that. They're like, this dragging thing is taking too long. I need to make it even faster. So we included something called auto build. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all of the images that are imported. I'm going to assume that these images are the ones that the couple from this wedding decided that they want to include in the album. And then as I click on auto build, I'm going to be asked the most important question, which is how big should the album be in terms of pages? So 2 pages equals 1 spread. And whenever photographers sell an album, they typically limit the album to a certain number of spreads because the cost of printing an album is based on how many spreads there are. A typical album that I build is about 20 spreads, 40 pages. So that's literally all I need to choose. I can have some more control over how Smart Albums will distribute the images, but I'm going to leave those options as is. Smart Albums is going to use the time code, so it's going to rearrange photos based on the time they were taken, whether images are color or black and white, and some other metadata. So as I click Auto Build, I will wait just a few seconds, and Smart Albums will be done just like that. So wow. I can quickly preview what I have so far by clicking the right and left keys on my keyboard. So remember that we're going to be able to make changes to these. But as you can see, Smart Albums, without us doing really anything, has already put the images together in such a way that it makes sense. For instance, here we have the group photos, and here we have the couple portraits. Now, based on the time code, it knew that these photos were taken around the same time, and this was later, so it placed those images on separate spreads, which obviously tells a better story compared to if we had all these images mixed together. And so, yeah, we have literally an album done in seconds, and there are 20 spreads there. And the next step that I would do is I would go back, and if I don't like a certain design, for example, maybe here I feel like the images are too small, I can click next on my bar here at the top, and I can see what other options I have available for me. And let's say if this is something I want, I can make further changes, such as maybe switching the images around on the design. And yeah, so I will just go back, make some changes, and within a few more minutes, I'll be completely done with my design.
Wow. That's fantastic. That's cool. So when I look at software like this, I remember, which I'm sure you're way more familiar with than I am, but I remember there's still a bunch of album design companies out there where photographers will just basically send them an SD card or a drive with the images from the wedding, and then they will do what this software is doing for a fee, of course, right? So how does this software, Smart Albums, play with those services? Is this a service, or is this a software that those people would be using, or does this replace them for the pro photographer so that they can sort of take control back into their own hands?
Yeah, good question. It's the latter. In the past, photographers would be so overwhelmed with the design process that album printing companies started to offer the service to design those books. But now, as you can see, it only takes a few minutes to make your own design. And any changes that you or your client may want to make are going to be a lot less expensive, because you can make them instead of the lab having to make them. And that's actually the next feature that I wanted to discuss, is when there is communication between you and your client, they may look at some design, such as, let's say this one, and they may say, well, I like this design, but I would like to make a certain image bigger. And they may refer to that image by maybe a number of that image, whatever, the file name it is. So when they say, let's say the image 47 bigger, if you want to quickly find what that image is, we have now a search function by which you can simply search for what image they may be talking about. So in this case, 47. And Smart Albums will highlight which image that is. So in this case, I can tell that that's the image, and I'll be able to make this image bigger. So I'll click next until I like a design that has maybe something like that there, and then I'll drag that image that they wanted bigger in that position. So that's another way that we have made the process easier and faster by letting the communication between the photographer and the client be less ambiguous.
That's cool. That's cool. Once the images are on the page, like here, you have the ability to move them in the frame, right, and adjust the crop?
Correct. I can not only choose, let's say that I don't like the way this image is cropped here. Once I click on it, I can move it within the frame. I can make it bigger if I want. I can even angle it. And do all those things. But if I really wanted even more control about any of the design, I can always double click on the design, and I will enter something called the designer view. This is essentially a mix between InDesign and Photoshop, where I can literally do anything I want to my design, including resizing images, moving them, and et cetera, et cetera. And I have many smart guides, as you can see, that are helping me to align images correctly to each other.
Daniel, are photographers able to, say, using this particular tool right here, are they able to build their own layouts? Like if they don't like the way the AI system is laying things out, and they have their own sort of, quirky style of laying images out in an album form, can they do that?
Absolutely. Let's say that this is a design that I like, but not all the way. And maybe my client has a very specific ask, whatever that is. Maybe they want images to lay on top of each other somehow. I can free flowingly move images around, let's say like that, for whatever reason. And if I like this design and I actually want to reuse it in the future, I can click on Save as Template here in the top left corner. And then in the future, when I have this set of images, which I believe it's 3 verticals and 1 horizontal, then Smart Albums will provide this as one of the options that I can use for my design.
Awesome. Very cool. And then before you continue, one other question, just real quick while it's top of mind. Where are these images living? Does the photographer that's building the album, do they need to upload them to Pixellu servers and then all the magic happens up there, or is everything happening locally on the hard drive?
This is all local. This is a desktop software. So not only do you not have to upload the images anywhere when you are making the design, it's very, very snappy and very quick. It's designed specifically for professional photographers so that working with 40, 50 megapixel files is not going to be an issue. You're not going to be waiting there until the uploads happen, and then if you want to make changes, waiting for the connection to catch up to whatever you're trying to do.
Very cool. Okay. And is there a way, do you, so the other question would be, so once I have my album completely designed and ready to go and it's beautiful, what's the output? Do you deliver a series of images that then go to the lab, or is it a PDF file? What's the output look like?
So the output, there are multiple options. If you want to take this design to a further refinement, maybe there is something in Photoshop, some feature in Photoshop that you really need to use, maybe some bevel or something in Photoshop that you want to take the design to, you can actually export to a PSD file and take it into Photoshop and go on there. You can also export it to an InDesign file and continue your work there. You can export it to PDF or JPEG. When you start your project, you can choose one of the popular labs out there, and we have nearly 200 labs now. When you choose your lab, and for most people, your lab will be on the list, and then when you choose the size of the album, the measurements of that, the specs of that spread and the output file are going to match exactly what the lab requires, because we have been in communication with each of these labs and made sure that whatever specs they have for each size of the album, that is what we output when the photographer designs it.
Okay. Very cool. Okay. So what else is new in here? Are those the main features?
Yep. And there's one more fun one. It's not so much made for wedding photographers, but we do have a lot of portrait photographers, family photographers, children photographers out there. And what makes a design more fun sometimes is having some sort of fun pattern in the background. I will show it in a wedding image here. So let's say that you have an image like this, and you want to, spice it up. Again, this would make more sense if it was a bunch of kids in the photo. But you can go on the bottom left here to the pattern browser, and you can choose one of the patterns here. So to kind of match this design, let's go with something like maybe sophisticated like this, that has a pattern like that. There are fun ones that are just stripes or little pluses, but let's go with that, or maybe even this like that. And then what we could do is we can click on that pattern and customize it further. Maybe we want it to match the overall feel of the image here, or maybe the color of the wedding, let's say, is some sort of yellow or whatnot. So I'll choose the color there, and then maybe lower the opacity to make it less intense, like that. And so this will allow us to, again, create a little more of a design feel to the album. And again, for family photos, this is a lot more applicable than they would be to wedding photos.
Are those patterns customizable? Can I upload my own in there?
Not at the moment, but that is a request that we're receiving, and we plan to add that feature in the future.
Okay, cool, man. Very cool update. That's a lot of work. You guys have been busy over there, huh?
Yeah, our plan is to release something new every year. This is the 2020 version, and we have no attitude of we're kind of done and we're not going to work on it anymore. We have a full-time team that's continually working throughout the whole year on improvements.
Very cool. Awesome. Last question: pricing and availability. What does it cost to get into this software, and when can they get into it?
Yeah, so this version is already released. For those that are already subscribers, they get the update free. For those that are not, it starts at $16 a month for Smart Albums, and we have another product, SmartSlides, that they can bundle to save on the cost together.
Fantastic. Well, cool, man. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to do this demo. This is helpful. And
awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of wedding photographers are probably, if they haven't already, reassessing their sort of pipeline, for wedding creation, because it's pretty amazing what you guys have put together. And SmartSlides is amazing too. So if people haven't played around with that app, we'll have to do a demo on that on another day. But that's similar design philosophy, but for display, right?
Right, for slideshows,
Yep. Very cool. All right, Daniel, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks a lot. See you later.
Okay. All right, take care.
All right.
This is Twit.